After the break, the Tory mayoral candidate accused of groping, Daniel Kosher, has denied inappropriately touching a woman. Tonight, the Tory mayoral hopeful accused of groping. Daniel Kosher was working in Downing Street 10 years ago when a woman says he touched her inappropriately. But he says he's staying in the race and denies the allegation.
I didn't do what's been alleged. I absolutely didn't do that.
Also ahead, a mother's fight for justice 2 years after Matthias Polian was ambushed and shot dead.
Unless you're a cold, callous killer, how can you sleep well? Give yourself up and find peace.
After years of sewage spills, the boss of Thames Water quits. Plus,
you just need to be ready. There's other stuff going
heroics
on.
At 30,000 feet with Idris Elba
And where on earth am I? Here's some clues amongst tiny things on a massive scale. They're very juicy and I've eaten far too many of.
Good evening. It's fair to say the shortlist to be the Conservative mayoral candidate isn't brimming with household names, but now the profile of early frontrunner Daniel Kosher is rising for all the wrong reasons. He's been accused of sexual assault while he worked as a special advisor in Downing Street 10 years ago. He strongly denies this. Writing in 2 newspapers today, the TV producer Daisy Goodwin alleged the assault happened when she had a meeting with him. She's come forward after hearing Daniel Kosher's campaign includes making the capital safer for women. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has more.
Hi, I'm Dan Kosher, and I'm standing to be the Conservative Party candidate to take on and beat Sadiq Khan.
Daniel Kosher has big ambitions, but his embryonic political career is mired in sleaze allegations.
That's where the magic happens. So come with me and get a tour.
Daisy Goodwin is a TV producer, the brains behind ITV's Victoria. She's told 2 newspapers that 10 years ago, Mr. Kosher groped her. She first spoke about it in 2017, but only now is naming him. Daisy Goodwin said she met Daniel Kosher at a social event when he was working as a special advisor in David Cameron's government. He invited her to a meeting in Number 10 a few weeks later to discuss a possible TV project. She told the Daily Mail, at the end of the meeting we both stood up and Kosher, to my astonishment, put his hand on my breast. I looked at the hand and then in my most affronted voice said, "Are you actually touching my breast?" He dropped his hand and laughed nervously. I swept out in what can only be called high dudgeon.
I didn't do what's been alleged. I absolutely didn't do that.
In a TV interview, Mr. Kosher hit back at Miss Goodwin's claims.
I certainly didn't leave the meeting feeling that I had done anything wrong, and subsequently even wrote to her congratulating her on some of her professional success. But I don't really know why she felt the way she did. All I can say is that I have always endeavoured to create the best professional environment, an empowering professional environment for everybody.
Mr. Kosher is one of 3 finalists in the contest to choose the next Conservative candidate in London's mayoral election. Last night, he was at a hustings event in Southwark with his rivals, but left early as Miss Goodwin's allegations emerged.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave now, but thank you very much for listening to me.
I've got a business plan to make London faster, safer, smarter, better connected.
In his campaign video, Mr. Kosher says the safety of women on London's streets would be a priority.
There's lots being said. Let's investigate the claims. Let's have an independent board look at them and let him give testimony about what happened.
Tonight, Labour demanded the Conservatives suspend Mr. Kosher. The Conservative Party said it had a code of conduct, but would only investigate a complaint where it had jurisdiction, implying any complaint against Mr. Kosher during his time as a special advisor would be a matter for the Cabinet Office.
Simon, how high are the stakes for Daniel Kosher's future then?
Well, until yesterday, he was the bookies' favourite to be the Tory candidate. He isn't now. Daisy Goodwin says she came forward with these allegations, even though she's never made a formal complaint, because he wants to be mayor and because of what he said about wanting to make the streets of London safer for women. Now, Mr. Kosher was asked in his TV interview today if he expected her allegations to prompt more women to come forward. He said, to the best of his knowledge, he doesn't expect more to come out. He also says Because he's innocent, he intends to continue his campaign to be the Conservative mayoral candidate in next year's mayoral election, where Sadiq Khan is hoping to get a third term. Tonight, one of his rivals, the London Assembly member Susan Hall, who is now the bookie's favourite, said it was up to Mr Korski to decide whether or not to pull out. OK, Simon, thank you. Officers investigating the assault of a female police officer at the Notting Hill Carnival are appealing for help finding two men. They want to speak to the two men being pointed out here in the crowd. The force says the officer was sexually assaulted while she worked at last year's carnival, which was on the 29th of August. And the Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, has said the government is committed to bringing forward legislation that will ensure offenders attend their sentencing hearings. The family of Zara Alina have been campaigning for the change after her killer refused to come to court when he was sentenced. Next tonight, Matthias Polion was ambushed by two men wearing face masks in front of his home in Balham. They shot him in the chest. 2 years on from the 27-year-old's killing, his heartbroken family have renewed their appeal to help find the gunman. The area was busy at the time, and the police believe people are yet to come forward. Matthias's mum has been speaking to Anton Allen.
I'd give anything to see Matthias again, even my own life. I would give, without even a second blink. If I had to choose who to die, it would be me.
Vina wants justice for her murdered son. But 2 years on, since Matthias Polion was brutally killed in Balham, none of his attackers are in prison. Videos of Matthias singing and dancing with his mum are a positive reminder of the 27-year-old man that loved and cared for his family.
What do you miss the most about him each day?
His voice, Antoine. I haven't heard his voice ask me, Mum, what are you doing? For 2 years. So that's hard.
On the 17th of June 2021, Matthias Polion was shot in the chest by two masked individuals in the Bedford Hill area. They fled in a car which the police later found burnt out.
And that's me and him.
Vina arrived to see paramedics attempt to save her son's life. But at the hospital, she was told Matthias's injuries were fatal.
But when I went in there, he was still warm. And they said to us, don't go up to his head, because obviously he'd been stabbed in his head, he'd been stabbed everywhere. So I just rubbed his foot. And I said, I'm so sorry, baby, that they did this to you.
How many times have you relived that day?
Every day. Because you can't get that out of your mind. It doesn't go.
The Met Police arrested two men, but they remain released under investigation. Crime Stoppers have offered a £20,000 reward for any information that leads to a conviction.
I just want justice.
Each day without new information is agonising for Vina.
People think that when somebody dies, you know, murder, after a year you never get over it. But what makes it worse is not having the person be brought to justice. The person that killed my son is still living his life happy. And here I am broken, I'm broken. I'm not who I was.
Matthias's killers are still out there.
Yeah.
If they were watching this and you could plead to them to come forward, what would you say to them?
Give yourself in. How can you sleep? Are you sleeping well? You can't sleep well, really, with that. Nobody for me, unless that's what you do as a living, unless you're a cold, callous killer, how can you sleep well? Give yourself up and find peace.
Vina Polion there, talking to Anton Allen. The boss of Thames Water has resigned 3 years after starting her £1.5 million a year job. No reason has been given, but it comes weeks after Sarah Bentley was forced to give up her bonus because of the company's record of sewage spills. Sam Holder is by the river for us now. Sam, water bosses have been under a lot of pressure recently, haven't they?
Well, that's right, Duncan. Thames Water was one of the water companies that publicly apologised earlier this year for the vast amount of raw sewage ending up in places like this, the Thames, our waterways. To give you a sense of scale, last year alone, the company released untreated sewage for a total of 75,000 hours across hundreds of sites, much of which will have gone into rivers and streams. Right now, sewage is being released at a site on the River Brent in Ealing. The company has been criticised by environmental campaigners, by politicians, by the unions. Don't forget that the cost for customers has gone up by about 11% this year. We still haven't been given a reason why Sarah Bentley has stepped down. In a statement, she did say that the foundations had been laid to improve the experience for customers and also improve environmental performance. But, Duncan, over the past 48 hours alone, there's been sewage releases at 11 different Thames Water sites.
Sam, thank you. Still to come on the programme, Sally is out and about with the weather, plus...
This is the moment.
From screen to stage, Mrs. Doubtfire gets her moment on stage. But first, 18 Jewish state schools in North London say they're struggling to provide hot school meals for their pupils. Last month, the Kosher catering supplier they used shut down, meaning the cost of school meals could be almost double the £2.50 per child they're allocated. It's a problem that is set to get worse next academic year, as Helen Keenan explains.
If you've got a lunchbox, you can go and sit down.
A crisis for kosher meals in schools, with the children paying the price. The collapse of their catering provider has put a halt to their hot meals. It's an issue for those who can't afford to be given one at home. Currently, the school can only provide cold food.
Some people's parents can't afford to give their kids what the other kids might get, which could make the other kid feel very left out, upset, and maybe damage their mental health.
My biggest concern is making sure that they're being fed properly, that their brains are being fed properly.
Taking that extra kind of cost into account, it's going to be challenging going into the next year, especially with multiple children at the same school.
And this isn't just our school here. I think this impacts 18 Jewish schools in the London area and probably also impacts other faith schools.
At the moment, they're getting £2.41 per child, but that's not even half the cost of what they're being quoted for kosher meals. The school does have a kitchen, but the cost of connecting it and bringing in a kosher cook would cost even more.
Food is fully kosher, and that involves buying food from specific places. It involves someone who's called a shomer, who oversees the food to check that it's cooked in the correct way.
You've tried lots of solutions and you're trying to team up with other schools, but it's not been that straightforward.
It's really very hard. I spend so much of my time at the moment about these things, and really it's the education of children I want to focus on. However, if we don't feed them right, we don't provide them with the basic things they need, that will massively impact on their education.
From September, all children in the capital are to receive free school meals, with the Mayor providing £2.65 per meal, almost 10% more than the government currently funds. But those with specialist dietary requirements, for example kosher, and schools who can't order halal meals in bulk, cost more than that.
Who do you think should be making up that shortfall then?
And that's a really difficult question. At the moment it's looking like it's going to be a part of our budget. One member of staff might be an option, that would be a way to cut it. We're looking at some of the extra things we provide to our children.
Barnet councils they have offered a kosher kitchen to the school's chosen provider for minimal rent. And the Mayor's office say they are aware of the current issues and will be working closely with councils on this. What the schools need to know is who is going to help them with the shortfall before the new school year. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Now, anyone who has worked hard to get a degree will have fond memories of receiving their certificate and getting that all-important graduation photo. But for hundreds of teachers who studied at the University of London, that moment has been many years, decades in fact, in the making. Their qualifications haven't been recognised as degrees until now. Ron K. Phillips explains.
They came from all over the country. 700 former teachers, most of them women, who'd studied for their chosen profession as long as 60 years ago. Back then, they were given certificates of education. Now their knowledge and experience is being rewarded with honorary degrees.
I have waited a very long time, yes.
Sue Robinson studied at Fursdown College in Tooting, finishing in 1968. She would later watch students who had degrees fast-tracked to senior roles and paid more money.
I do believe that BEd started on a higher salary, but do you know, that didn't really bother me too much, the money. It was more not having the degree and feeling that maybe the Cert Ed was not viewed with equal importance, even though it was a 3-year course.
Kathleen Burns also studied here and travelled to the ceremony with her son from their home in County Tyrone in Ireland. She was pivotal in pushing for the recognition.
The reason that I decided that this would happen today was simply because honorary degrees would have been awarded to politicians, scientists, etc. Why are we as retired teachers not entitled to our honorary degree?
It was in the 1980s when the government decided it wanted a graduate standard for professions, which included jobs like teaching and nursing. And this is why the discrepancy in qualifications came about.
In recent years, all across the country, there's been a national movement to go back and recognise those people who never got a degree but did fabulous jobs, contributed to the profession, contributed to society. The aim was to go back and recognise those people and give them all an honorary degree, to give them the same standing.
It was a day which saw roles reversed, children coming to see their parents graduate, the classes of the 50s and 60s given the degrees they so richly deserve. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
Next tonight, you may know this star for his musical talents, but pop singer-songwriter Will Young is taking on a new endeavour. Song from Far Away is a one-man play about a character grappling with grief, an experience that Will Young knows all too well. He sat down with Anna Geary.
It's his first theatre role in a decade.
I've thought about you every day. I so have.
A contrast from his chart-topping days.
It was 5 o'clock by the time I reached the gay quarter.
Will Young is in final rehearsals for Song from Far Away, a one-man play which opens in North London this week.
It's about a Dutch person, my character Willem, who comes back from New York because he loses a family member. And then it's sort of about what transpires in that sort of 4-day period. And the play takes forms of letters that I have written to the departed family member.
Grief that is close to home for Will, having lost his twin brother in 2020. Rupert took his own life at the age of 41, following decades of struggles with alcohol addiction.
I wanted to go over and give you a hug, tell you how happy I was to see you.
Though Will says he was able to separate the personal from the professional.
My experiences of death are not similar to what's going on in the play, and also my relationship with my family and friends is not what my character's relationship. I mean, it was very destructive. But I know human behaviour.
Will! Another transformation from the Pop Idol winner that burst onto our screens in 2002 is Will's hair.
I quite like being blonde. It's a bit of a pain. Also, it hurts when you're dyeing your hair.
Really?
It burns the scalp. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it's because it is like, it's sort of that bleach.
It's the bleach.
Yeah.
It's like I'm burning, you know, it's a painful process.
The other pain he found was learning lines. Worthwhile, he says, for what he hopes audiences will take from it.
Theatre is a sort of form of therapy. Through an hour and a quarter of a monologue, someone might release something that's going on in their life or learn something more about themselves. And across the ocean.
Performances start on Wednesday and run for 3.5 weeks. Anna Geary, ITV News, Hampstead Theatre.
Staying in the theatre world, and family films don't come much bigger than Mrs. Doubtfire, the story of a dad whose marriage was breaking up, trying to see his kids by pretending to be a Scottish nanny. Well, poppets, if you thought you saw a Scottish nanny on an open-top bus today, you were not mistaken. The legend herself was here to promote the capital's newest musical. Rags Martel had a first look.
Hello! A nan.
about town.
Hey, can I take a picture with you, Mrs. Doubtfire?
Promoting the new musical and seeing the sights.
That is amazing.
Before tonight's performance.
Right, so I've got to get to the Shaftesbury Theatre, but how to get there?
Hello!
It's a beautiful day. Let's go on the open-top bus.
Hello! There you are!
The man behind the mask is Gabriel Vick, and on stage, his transformation into Mrs. Doubtfire has to be quick.
We found this silicone mask. We can whip it on and off quickly, adding the wig, the glasses, earrings, lipstick. All of this can happen, and a complete costume change with a bodysuit. I think our fastest is about 18 seconds.
How do you do it though? 18 seconds, how is that possible?
With help. There's 3 people. I've got someone on my back, someone on my front, someone doing the wig and the glasses. It's just like watching a Ferrari pit crew at times. It's like, you know, we've got it down to a pretty fine art.
This holiday smells like burnt rubber.
The film came out 30 years ago.
God, it's hot in here.
Starring Robin Williams as a divorced father acting as a nanny to stay close to his children.
Robin Williams was famous for the accents.
Well, I don't want to critique his performance to it, but actually he's pitched quite low. I want to have more of a change. So she's more sort of up there to you. Oh, you know, up there and high. So that when I move down to Daniel, there's a bigger contrast. So they talk to each other. Hey, sis, how are you doing? Oh, yes, I'm fine, dear.
What is the appeal of Mrs. Doubtfire?
Well, it's for anybody who, you know, can't be with the ones that they love. And I think it's an important message, you know, relationships are complicated, they don't always work out, rather than it being a kind of dull fairy tale ending, that actually the messiness is okay.
Oh, here we are!
Mrs. Doubtfire made it to the Shaftesbury Theatre.
I know I look great, but there's more work to be done before the show begins.
And bookings are being taken until June next year.
Don't worry!
Rags Martel, ITV News.
Help is on the way, dears!
OK, let's have a look ahead to the evening news at 6:30 now. Here's Mary with the details.
Coming up in the programme, how the UK was failed in the lead-up to the pandemic. The former Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, admitted a series of mistakes and offered a profound apology to the victims. The inquest into the death of Nikki Bully concludes she drowned accidentally. Racism, sexism and elitism. The damning report revealing discrimination within cricket at all levels. And
thank you for being a friend. I want to thank you. Thank you.
How Tony Christie is thanking carers for being a friend. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, temperatures have dipped slightly, but the heat we've been having has still been good for business. They're particularly happy where you are this evening, Sally.
They are indeed. You know, every year we have a bumper crop of something, don't we? And conveniently tonight, given that I'm in a blueberry farm, it's blueberries. Now, we're so often used to seeing them like this, aren't we? In a punnet from the supermarket, and often they come from the other side of the world. Well, did you know, hello, that they grow thousands here, more than thousands, right on our doorstep of London here in Surrey. Now, this is the Hall Hunter Partnership. Don't bring them in. Take a look at these absolute little beauties. I am going to pick one. Pop. It's sort of made pop. You have to trust me on that. And I'm going to show you how they grow them here on this farm while I eat this little darling. Here we go.
Nature just knows how to treat us, with little blue jewels dripping from bushes. Tasty jewels too.
Well, it's just as well I'm partial to a blueberry or 20 because there are millions here. In fact, they think this is the biggest blueberry farm possibly in the country. Have you ever, Harry, overdosed on blueberries?
Yeah, it's really easy to do that. You know, coming from a background of...
Harry Hall runs this family fruit farm in Godalming, which grows about 1/3 of the British crop. And here they really want to promote British blueberries.
So when we think of strawberries and cream, that's British. Are you trying to push blueberries and cream?
Why not? I think everything moves on, and why not? Why can't it be one day raspberries and cream, strawberries and cream, and blueberries and cream?
I mean, quite frankly, yes, I'll have them all at the same time.
They also grow strawberries here and employ hundreds of pickers.
Viorel, tell me, how do you know when a blueberry needs to be picked?
you check here on the bottom. And if it's red, you can't pick. It's
Okay.
not ready for pick. But this, like that, should be ready for picking.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I just ate it. I didn't even ask you. Please, can I try it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Can't take me anywhere. Low-hanging fruits, though, are clearly amongst my favourites.
Well, I don't know if you've ever overdosed on fruit. It sounds very virtuous, doesn't it? It's awful. I've done it with dates, with strawberries on the way back from a fruit farm, and only last week I did it with grapes. I ate an entire punnet and I didn't feel great afterwards. So news you can use, don't do that. I've been a very good girl today and I've only had a few, and these are going to come, actually I'm going to share them with you, Joe, my lovely cameraman. Sometimes I'm a bit greedy like that. Anyway, it's a little bit more muggy out tonight, well, in here and out there. Let's take a look at all the details. Here they are.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. I am living my calm life vicariously through Sue's photos. Isn't that just sublime? Thank you, Sue. It's a little bit cloudy at the moment over the next few days. Still quite warm. It's going to be a bit warmer tomorrow and then a little bit fresher from Thursday as we go through the day. And it is mostly dry in the daytime. Couldn't rule out a shower here or there. And we are expecting some rain overnight Wednesday, clearing through Thursday morning. As for this evening, could just clip a shower as that front passes through, but most areas staying dry. It's going to be a bit muggy overnight. Our temperature staying up into the mid-teens, so a little bit more uncomfortable for sleeping compared to last night. And a little bit murky and muggy first thing tomorrow morning as well. Plenty more cloud for you to enjoy tomorrow. Pretty dry, but there might be a spot of rain or drizzle around. And our temperatures a little bit warmer tomorrow, a touch more humid, highs of 22 to 25 degrees. As we head into the evening, again, not too bad, but we are expecting some rain overnight, and you can see it here on the graphics for Thursday. It will clear through Thursday morning, but there is just a little bit of a question mark as to exactly when. But at the moment, as we move into Friday, that's looking rather pleasant. You can see our temperatures just a touch fresher from Thursday. Here's the pollen.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Pollen is still not perfect, better than very high, but it is still high to moderate. It may well come down to moderate on Thursday if we get some rain that's clearing through in the morning. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
Thank you, Sally. That is it from us. The ITV Evening News is next with Mary. But for now, from all of us on the London team, thank you for watching and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.